everybody.
Hello.
We're back. So today we wanted to talk about what keeps you in even though you have doubts and reasonable, logical questions concerning your religion. Whether it be Jehovah's Witnesses or anything else, religions teach some pretty messed up stuff. It doesn't make any scientific or logical sense. So we live in a world of knowledge. We live in a world where you have access to the answer of any question in your pocket on your cell phone. So what keeps people in? I remember when I was my daughter's age, 14 years old, 13 years old, I would ask my mom question, Jehovah's Witness mom, I would ask her, so Mom, if nobody's ever going to die, isn't the earth going to be filled up someday? I would ask her, how did all of these animals fit in that small little ark, Noah's Ark? And man, Mom, there's a lot of good people in the world doing good, charitable, helpful things. I can't imagine Jehovah's going to kill them just because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't get answers, of course. I got her being scared that I was even asking the questions. So even at such a young age with no internet, I had logical, reasonable questions. But what kept me going till I was 20 years old, or 30 years old, sorry, was fear. Because religion puts fear in you. And I remember my mom, she was scared whenever I would ask her these questions. She would say, "It means your life." She had no answers to the questions, but she was just full of fear, and therefore filled me with fear. And that's what keeps you in. That's what keeps the logical questions and the reasoning from taking hold and guiding where you go, is fear.
I didn't have the same experiences. Just to let you know, I got my book, Combating Cult Mind Control. It's Dr. Stephen HASSAN. And in my marriage, when my husband was bringing these things up to me, when I was a little girl, I always worried about people dying. I would preach when I was little. In kindergarten, in first grade and second grade, I would talk to the kids, and then I would be in total fear that they would die. And I didn't want them to. I was scared for them. And when I'd say I'd preach, I would just say, well, you know, the world will be a paradise soon, and I want you there. So I didn't ever say that they would be destroyed, because my little 7-year-old mind couldn't. That was just too hard to understand. And fear, when I grew up, realizing that, for one thing, I didn't have a group of people that were any different from me. So I only associated with people that had the same mindset. And when my husband was bringing these things up to me, I generally would shut down. In Dr. Hassan's book, he goes into explaining that you can have an intervention of sorts with all these people that love you to get you out of a cult. And that wouldn't have worked for me because all those people were in the cult. And when my husband would bring these things out, like, well, how is, do you really believe that all these good people are going to die in Armageddon? And I didn't feel that way. I felt like God would see their heart condition and be able to eliminate the bad people. It would be selective death. And did I feel that homosexuals would die? Or no, I didn't. Can
I interject?
Sure.
Real fast. So going along with what she just said about the heart condition, I know Jehovah's Witnesses have taught, and my mom has told me, that Jehovah sees the heart. Jehovah sees the heart. And other videos have brought this logic and reasoning out before, But if Jehovah reads the heart, then one, there's no reason for anybody to go out on service, because Jehovah's going to decide who lives or dies. You could just have Armageddon at any time. And the Jehovah's Witnesses who survived Armageddon can explain to the non-Jehovah's Witnesses who survived Armageddon what just happened and why they survived, because they have a good heart condition that God actually read. So if it was just a matter of reading the heart, then Jehovah could have Armageddon now, and there's no need for going out in service, because we're not the ones that read the heart, Jehovah is. So there's no reason for us to go out in service. But with Jehovah's Witnesses, we know that they're a publishing company, and they want to get their literature out there to get more volunteers to build their buildings and
Free slaves.
free slaves.
Slavery.
Right. So it's not about truth. It's not about saving lives, going out in service. It's just about getting more labor and more money.
Under the guise of
Religion
and loving your neighbor, because I had to rethink. I mean, I can, like I said, I can pop into my Jehovah's Witness brain, and then the old one, and then into the one that now I'm understanding better. But that fear really did keep me in, because the clutches were so deep. There was no way that having some sort of group that would help me get out, it didn't exist. It didn't exist for me. I was a born-in. So he was the enemy, and that took a toll on our marriage. The enemy, because we saw each other, I saw him as an enemy. And he would always say, look, I'm your friend. I'm not your enemy. And those words really did help me, because he would often say that. I am your friend. I am not your enemy. Because when you go to the Kingdom Hall and you are in a box, as my husband has brought out to me before, it's by design. When you're tired and you go to the Kingdom Hall and you sit there for 2 hours, or you go to district convention and you're sitting there for hours and hours, it shuts down parts of your mind, and that it's more easily accessible for the subconscious to be influenced by the words that are being told to you. So, for instance, paradise and fears. I mean, the fear of death and the world around you. If you looked at the current videos, they're full of fear, and fear just shuts down your brain and your body. And that is how you're kept in. And it's so unfortunate, because it bleeds into every single portion of your life. And if you're married to someone who left Jehovah's Witnesses, you are in constant fear for your family and for your own spiritual life, and for the people that are influenced by this person. And for me, it was my husband. So that isn't a comfortable place to be in a marriage. It makes it very difficult to be able to just live normally without constant walls. So I would have to, in order for me to get through day by day, of course I would pray. I also had to get old pictures of, and it was actually in a watchtower or an awake, the importance of looking back in your marriage and, looking at old wedding pictures to see that how you fell in love with that person, why you fell in love with that person, what feelings that you got when you fell in love with that person. And at the time, my husband was a witness when I married him. So I did do that, and it helped a lot. Treating each other with respect. I know that as a witness, I was very hateful, and I would find myself hating my husband. But then I would have to go back in my mind, and I didn't have these books, mind you. I didn't have books yet. I wasn't reading anything. But I would reflect on how I would treat people at the doors. And I would think, wait a minute, I gave them the human decency to think and have opinions at a door. So why wouldn't I give my husband, who left the organization, that same common decency? Why would it be any different? And then when you have children, because I started having children, I thought, I don't want my children to hear me speak in a way that would demean my husband in any way, because this was a man that I loved and I wanted them to respect their father. So, and in a healthy way, you know, he didn't demand it. He was a good man. He was loving and kind, respectful. I would remind them, look, he would put gas in my car for the district conventions. He would make sure that we'd have necessary funds to buy new shoes, new dresses, new things, new notebooks. And these are things I would remind my children and myself. You know, this was a man that when we would relocate to any state, he was the first one to find the Kingdom Hall for me. And that made such, the kindnesses that he did provide for me, even though he didn't agree with how I thought or what I felt or what I was doing, that made such a difference. So in combating cult mind control, I haven't finished it. I'm just at the beginning, really. Dr. HASSAN says the importance of being kind, and you know, kindness to any creature, living creature, is important and is valuable. So I know that there are times when you may hate your mate, whether they're still in the organization or they left. The importance of not hating your mate and being kind and respectful and loving in that tumultuous mindset when you come home from a Kingdom Hall and you're by yourself with your kids. For me, that's when I would really have a lot of feelings of isolation, and I would feel like I married the wrong person. And so, yeah, the importance of making sure that you see all the good things that person does, whether they're in the organization or outside the organization. That's what helped me when I felt isolated or when I felt like he didn't understand me.
Yeah. In the beginning, and I think it was our last video, I told you that I didn't go about things the right way when I found out that this was a cult that we were raised in. I just blew up and tried to show her all the things that I realized, or all the things that I discovered about the lies and child abuse and on and on and on. And I went about it the wrong way. The thing that I did do correctly was supporting her. I wasn't going to tell her that she couldn't bring my kids to the Kingdom Hall. I wasn't going to tell her she couldn't go to the Kingdom Hall, because how do you convince somebody that you can have free thought, you can believe what you want to believe, when you don't allow them to have free thought or believe what they want to believe? So my goal was to support her. And like she said, you know, I bought the car. I mean, we had the service vehicle. I mean, I bought her a really cool little minivan, and everybody went out and service in it. So, you know, I supported them in their delusion.
Yeah. And I don't, in order for our marriage to have survived at this long, I think that was important for me. I mean, I know that might not be something somebody wants to hear that has left, but those kindnesses make a difference. And even if it's just peace in your home, because your kids hear things that you say, or they feel the things that aren't said, because kids are super smart. I mean, they're very intelligent, more intelligent than I think adults, because they haven't been messed up by all the surrounding thoughts. So yeah, it made a difference.
They haven't been corrupted by confirmation bias yet.
Yeah.
When they see something that's not fair, they say it's not fair. Whereas when a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon sees something in their religion that's not fair, they'll defend it any way they can, even though it's not fair. And I think I told you this before, I forget which philosopher it was who said those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. And so when you believe absurdities, your reason and logic goes out the window, and you'll do and think and act in unreasonable ways. But that's all by design. Combating Cult Mind Control. It's a really good book. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, it's by
Mooney,
who was Sung Young Moon's Worldwide Church of God. I think it was Worldwide Church of God. But anyway, he was a cult member for a while. A little bit different type of a cult, a little more extreme in a lot of ways. But they use a lot of the same tactics. And his first version of this book in 1988 didn't even include Jehovah's Witnesses in it.
Yeah.
But a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who were doubting read the book and saw similarities in the way that other cults manipulate their victims to how Jehovah's Witnesses manipulate their victims. One former Bethelite who lived in Manhattan Beach, California, read Combating Cult Mind Control in 1988-89, and he called up Stephen Hassan and said, why didn't you include Jehovah's Witnesses in Combating Cult Mind Control? And Stephen said, oh, I didn't know that they were a cult. Educate me. And so Stephen Hassan flew out to California and met with I forget his name, but he was one of the first to come out. He had videos in the early 80s that he put with his camcorder and books that he wrote about the 1981 purge in Bethel when Raymond Franz was kicked out, basically, and then the governing body was basically sending out spies to see who
were followers.
Were doubting or were having their little Bible study groups in their rooms and things like that. And they disfellowshipped a lot of people for apostasy, but he was there, and he was one of them. And yeah, he was a source for a long time. And anyway, he educated Stephen Hassan on Jehovah's Witnesses, and in the following books, Combating Cult Mind Control, in the following prints, Stephen Hassan added Jehovah's Witnesses, because they're all the same. Mormonism, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witnesses, Worldwide Church of God. They're all very similar in their tactics. So this is a good book to read.
Right, and I'm reading it now. There's similarities that I can see that Jehovah's Witnesses have done. To let you know, there is freedomofmind.com, and they have a free newsletter. They offer a coupon too. Keep an eye out on this. Usually it's $49.99.
To do what?
To be able to get into a teaching. You're able to learn from a sort of unit study type deal, and sometimes they have a coupon for $9.99. So keep a lookout on that. I always like coupons, and I don't know. It's very difficult to access therapy for mental health like this. For me, I honestly really do. I know that Dr. Hassan explains that there are healthy religions that you can get into. My experience so far has not been healthy. I do not see ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that so far have little groups that are, in my opinion, healthy. It's still the same. It still has a certain type of way of group think. I don't like that. And after reading Karen Armstrong's book, about how religion has just continued to reestablish Christianity and reestablish the congregation. Yeah, no, I don't see it being helpful to mankind, any religion. So the subconscious mind is very affected by things that we hear, and our minds, we have no idea how strong they can be.
Follow your bliss and be good humans.